prepared. We are entering deep and dark waters of SHTF. All right, folks, welcome to the Prepared Mind channel. This is some serious business. I'm not blowing smoke in your ass. I'm not bullshitting you. Warning. Wake up. Right? We need to smell the coffee. This shit is getting very real very quick. We've got a couple examples here I want to go over, right? Got some opinion, right? I want to editorialize about what's going on in the news. This is how we're documenting the step-by-step process through which we are being driven to the complete, absolute, and total loss of our republic, what we would call lawful government, and we're heading into Mad Max territory. Now, Mad Max territory isn't overbrimming and overflowing. It's got its places where action's being taken, and we're starting to get that. And what better place for Mad Max to break out than the home of Mad Max himself? That's right, folks. The Mad Max movies were Australian. In fact, the Australian cinema, that was about all they had. I mean, they had stuff, but that was it. Mad Max exploded. Well, folks, in Australia, they are having a hard time, folks, with their lockdowns, with their mandates, with their rules, their demands, and also the policing efforts. Now, when I look at the way the police in Australia are acting, they are not acting like police. Not in my opinion. What I see there is a bunch of armed thugs obeying their gang lords. Because I do not see, folks, the police acting like police, enforcing lawful orders and keeping the peace. Instead, I see quite the opposite. And it's having an effect. It's having a Mad Max effect where the people are doing one of two things. They're running wild, running for their lives. And in some cases, they're starting to go after the police. But in this article, folks, let me see if I can get a little more detail here on the board. Melbourne, Australia, right? We have tens of thousands of protesters. Now, what's important to notice is, John, it's only tens of thousands. So let's say it's 20,000 protesters on the streets. Those protesters, in order to get out on the streets, are violating the law right there. How many people knowingly speed in front of a cop that you know of? They're like, hey, there's a cop, I'm going to speed and taunt him and tempt him and break the law and throw it in his face. That's what these protesters have to do just to get on the street. They have to be willing to get a speeding ticket. That is something that's going to jack their life up and cost them money. That's what you have to risk to get out there. So if 20,000 are on the street, I would say only 1 in 100 people, folks, is loopy enough to do exactly what I suggest. And that's, well, there's a cop. I'm going to speed in front of them. I'm going to try and get their attention. That's exactly what protesters are having to do there, is violate the rules, risk being either given a ticket or going to jail, and maybe even going to a health camp, a wellness camp. So the attitude of all of Australia is being reflected by this small number of normal citizens who are willing to take these risks. That's how far they've been pushed. Now, this crowd, the news article claims, was mostly made of trade workers, right? These unions. Remember the other day, the union bosses told the union members, go get your Jim Jones juice. Go get your Jim Jones jab. Do that. And they're like, fuck you, we ain't doing it. And then the union workers were like, then you don't get to go to work. And so the union leadership is carrying the water, executing the orders and the will of the government. They're not representing the people. So the unions are basically, folks, dissolved. That's fine, right? I'm not a big union fan, but you see how absolutely worthless a union is when it doesn't represent the attitude, desire, and serve the people. Isn't that interesting? When the government doesn't obey the law, when the government doesn't serve the people, it's no longer any good either. So union leadership is now the same as government. It's worthless. It's going against the people's will. Anyways, these are union workers. These are Australians, and they've had enough. And now they're out in protest in massive numbers, and the police are coming out. And what are they doing? They're chasing them down and shooting them with non-lethal weapons. These protesters in Australia, folks, they're unarmed, basically. So what we have is open, non-lethal confrontation between thug government agents, or, yeah, thug government. It is a thug government. And then the thug government's agents. There's going to be a problem, folks. These union people, these free Aussies, are eventually going to follow the police back to the police station and then follow them to their homes. This is not going to end well. When they follow them to their homes and say, now we know where you live, you are now on our list, what do you think is going to happen? It's not going to be good. This will not end well. In America, the same thing is going to happen. We are getting notice, folks. This is prepared mind notice. This is coming to America. These thugs could be, as I've suggested, rogue government, law enforcement institutions. These thugs could end up being foreign nationals acting as terrorist agents inside our country. Or they could just be strictly partisans. Partisans being thuggish and beating on each other. We've seen examples of it. And I've got a lot to talk about this afternoon. We're being overwhelmed. I had a friend call me this morning, and I'm like, look, I need a fucking break, right? There is so much going on, and this person, right, trying to help, piling information on me. I'm like, I can't take it. I'm full, right? It's just, and another friend of mine this weekend said, there's so much shit on the plate that it's just flowing over the sides. That's okay. We can handle this. We can break it down. We can talk about it. We can catalog it, file it, put it in order, and understand, folks, you and I, all of us, what to do about these things. It's really simple. The same plan applies that would to partisans, to leftist Antifa types, to terrorist types, and to out-of-control government types. If they were to come down your street and start committing atrocities, whatever form or flavor that atrocity comes with, and under whatever color of law it pretends to have, right? Folks, a mugger or robber on the street pretends to be an authoritative person, do they not? They look at you, they stop you, they make demands of you, and if you don't obey, they offer a punishment. And the demand that they make is going to cost you money, right? You're being robbed. Give me your money. Isn't that how it feels? Isn't that how it feels when you get pulled over and you're like, ah, shit, right? This person's got me. They've stopped me. They've got my attention. And my mistake was walking in front of them, driving in front of them. They didn't like the way I drove. They're going to claim that, well, you're going to pay a penalty for this now. And you've got no choice but to submit. So, hey, I know that's loose. I know, well, you must have violated the law. Really? Right? That's good enough, right? And if you don't obey, you will be punished. This is coming, folks. Don't obey Sharia law, you're punished. Don't obey Marxist law, you're punished. Right? Don't obey Karen law, punished. Look out. It is coming and it is getting bad. This is side one, folks. This is side one. Side two is when it gets really nasty, right? May as well call it the COVID Gestapo. There's videos popping up all over the internet of cops being brutal. The one that smashed the old lady to the ground, broke her hip, and then sprayed her in the face with a chemical agent. Okay, let's see. Cerveza bug is so bad that it can give you pneumonia and stop your ability to breathe. And we can't have that. So you must do exactly as the government says, because we want to make sure that you can breathe and you don't get sick and hurt. But if you mess with the police, they will make sure you're sick and you're hurt. And then they'll spray you in the face with something that makes it impossible to breathe. How the fuck is doing that? Right? Either you do what they say or you're not going to breathe. It's beyond my comprehension to justify doing these things, yet they're doing it. And they are chasing people and shooting them. And the people in Australia are starting to fight back in a literal sense. Right? In one video, the police are giving a bunch of protesters an ultimatum to leave and saying there will be no further warnings given. What does that mean? No further warnings given. Well, I know what it means. You're going to face the brunt. You're going to face the brunt of their ire, right? They're pissed. They don't like having to do this. Well, then quit the job. There's apparently around the world lots of work. You don't have to be a goon, part of the goon squad. Now, I'm going to switch gears on you. I've talked at length about the military, how we love our military, how our military, since colonial America, is beloved of the people, and how they stood up when they were a mere civilian force, a ragtag civilian force that stood up against the British, the Redcoats. Since then, America has loved our military, with the exception of these fucking hippie types from the 60s who are still in charge. What do you think Biden is? Who do you think Biden is? And all of Biden's buddies, they're anti-military, anti-America. Now, they'll use the military as their tool, and that's precisely what they're doing. Get this now. The Biden administration is now pushing for dishonorable discharges, for courts martial, for troops, that's soldiers, Marines, sailors, and airmen. You're now going to face, if they get their way, dishonorable discharge for refusing to take the tequila shot. And here's their justification. The White House responded to an attempt to say that the NDAA amendment that they had would prohibit any discharge but honorable for troops who refuse, saying, well, if they refuse, all you can do is give them an honorable discharge. The White House doesn't like that. They don't want to let people go. I thought maybe they'll just let them go and kick them out. No, they want to kick them out and punish them. Once again, folks, abusive, overbearing, dominating, demanding, tyrannical government. And they're turning it against our military. Unless, folks, the equivalent, folks, the Jim Jones juice, taking it is the equivalent of taking the knee, bending the head, and putting it on a chopping block. They want all three things before they let you stand up on your own feet and say, okay, you've now submitted thrice to us. I guess you can stay in the military. Oh, by the way, go down the hall, take a left, and go watch the drag queen show. The administration strongly opposes letting people out, saying it would detract from readiness and limit a commander's options for enforcing good order and discipline when a service member fails to obey a lawful order to receive. The Jim Jones juice. You see, it's not a lawful order. That's the problem. It's not a lawful order. They don't have the right. Whether or not the sauce is FDA approved. They don't have the right. They don't have the power. They don't have the authority. But the military likes to pretend like they own you and they can sacrifice you. But they actually don't have that right. That they can order you to do something that is against your better judgment. I was faced with that a number of times. Do you follow orders that are against your judgment, that you know to be wrong, unlawful, unconstitutional, etc.? Now, Representative Green, in response to the statement by the White House, right? He says, I'm appalled that the Biden administration is trying to remove my amendment to the NDAA, right? Well, hey, you're appalled. There's a lot more going on that's appalling, Representative Green. I'm glad you're taking this effort, but they're literally trying to destroy the military. And for those who would say, no, not doing it, they're trying to destroy those people as well, right? The statement from the White House also said, right, to enable a uniformed force to fight with discipline, commanders must have the ability to give orders and take appropriate disciplinary measures. You bet. Of course. Commanders must have the ability to give orders. No, let's change this. To give lawful orders and to take appropriate, lawful disciplinary measures. You see, there's a big difference between orders and lawful orders. The Nazis gave orders and millions of people were killed and died as a consequence. The Soviets gave orders, and a consequence of that was tens of millions of people died. Same with China under their communist chairman Mao and his orders. The real law, folks, natural law, that is, that people have a right to live, to think, to breathe, to act, to move, and to benefit from those things for themselves. Those orders are stripped under tyrannical governments. That's what they're doing right now. And I tell you what, this makes this makes Joe Biden, his administration, who's pulling the strings, a bunch of the worst, evil, rotten to the core bastards. To turn on the military and say you're going to obey anything we say because it's for the good of the unit, right? And if you don't, you're going to be discharged. You're going to get a dishonorable discharge. It's disgusting, folks. Fuck these people. Dishonorable discharge, court-martial. Folks, court-martial isn't like going to traffic court. A court-martial is a criminal hearing. You have some rights in a court-martial. I don't know if you can argue that it's a lawful order or not. I suppose you can try, but it's a criminal court. And if you're found guilty, you go to jail. Period. Treason, you're hanging from a yardarm. Period. It is not a play court, which is why they have NJP in the military, non-judicial punishment. That is an administrative hearing with your commanding officer or your OIC or whatever. But this is completely out of hand now. It is coming fast. It will be upon us soon. Our military is suffering it now, and on the streets, it will come to America. Get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Have your plan. Understand who the bad guys are and that they will not stop. You cannot reason with them, folks, not because they have superior orders, but because they're incapable of reason and thinking. All they know how to do is follow the agenda, follow their plan, follow it to the letter, and execute their orders. That's what it's like on a battlefield. There's the enemy, go get them. And it falls down to tactics and training at that point. Our military, folks, is under siege from within. That's how I see this. And there are a lot of good soldiers and Marines right now who are taking the Jim Jones juice, who are patriotic, You think they like it? Do you think they want it? They're suffering, folks. People are being injured all the time. This is terrible. This is what they're doing to America. This is Joe Biden's America. This is the Democrats' America. This is the Marxist America they've been fighting for decades to get their fucking slimy meat hooks into our country. And now they have it. And they're going 100% full speed ahead. The best we can do, get prepared with all those items. Have your plan, and then start prepping to action. By action, I'm suggesting you behave lawfully. To protest, write, make calls, and tell our elected representatives that we want our old America back, the one that works, that has freedom and liberty. That's what I am suggesting. But I suggest also you be ready for everything. Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours.
Audio Jungle.